everybody, for tuning in today. We are meeting with author Tanya Ellis. Thank you so much for joining us today to tell us about your multitude of books. You have written 10 children's chapter books. Am I right?
Yes, I've written 10 books.
That is phenomenal. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much, Christina, for having me on the show. I'm just really excited, and this is a great escape from reality for me. Yes, but I'm an author of 10 children's books. They're middle grade chapter books geared to kids ages 8 to 12, and they're about Sophie Washington, a little girl who lives in the suburbs of Houston, Texas, and all her adventures.
I love Texas. Okay. I'm just going to leave it at that. I love Texas.
Okay.
So you have 10 books about little Sophie. What inspired this character?
Well, Sophie is I'm a mom of 3. I have 3 teenagers, and Sophie is actually modeled after my daughter, and some of the things that she experienced when she was younger. And Sophie has a little brother named Cole, and he's kind of modeled after my 2 sons. So my inspiration for writing the books were my 3 children, because when they were younger, I used to read books to them every night, and we would read little chapter books as they got older. And I noticed that none of them featured characters of color. And also, living here in Houston, there are so many unique things that I wanted to share with other people. For example, one of my neighbors had an 8-foot long alligator in their front yard. We see wild boar, which are pigs, running around, tearing up people's yards. So there's so many fascinating things going on here. And I said,
a real alligator?
Yes, a real alligator. You see them I live in a suburb of Houston, similar to where Sophie lives. And there are waterways that go through the community, and every few months you'll see an alligator in some of them. So there's so many neat things going on around here. I said, kids would really love this. And I said, this would be a great idea for a story. And my background has been in journalism. I've worked in newspapers, and for about 10 years before I wrote my first book, I did freelance writing for a community magazine, a Houston area family magazine. So I always wanted to write my own book. And then after reading with my kids, I just came up with the concept for the Sophie Washington series.
That is awesome. So this is, well, the one I just showed was one, but you said these stories were geared from experiences that your daughter had went through when she was growing up. What are some of those experiences?
Well, the first book in the series, Sophie Washington, Queen of the Bee, has Sophie participating in a spelling bee and standing up to a boy she calls Mr. Know-It-All. And all 3 of my kids have been spelling bee champions. They were all participants in spelling bees at their schools when they were smaller, and I was a judge in spelling bees. So of course, we've seen the Keel and the Bee and things like that as well. But I kind of had firsthand experience coaching them to become winners in spelling bees and judging spelling bee competitions. And that was the inspiration for the first book in the series.
I need that one.
Yeah, you need
I need all 10
on spelling. Yeah, getting started young.
Yeah, most definitely. I just started writing. So they love doing letters and numbers, and they love calling them out. But little kids are so used to saying A, B, C, D. So I'm trying to get them to understand, just because they're right next to each other, So I would show them the letter C, and then I would write A after it to try to get them to say A. But they're what is it, like they're cognitive or whatever it is, they'd be like, D, that's not a D. So I'd have to cover up the C. What letter is this? And they say A. So I'm trying to go ahead and incorporate, trying to get them to recognize small words, but it's a challenge.
And not only too, so, as you keep at it, they're going to make that connection.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
2 years old, so you're a phenomenal job. Yeah, you're getting them started early.
2 going on 22, actually.
2 little kids.
Oh, definitely. So I see a lot of pictures of you basically out in your community, out at schools, getting your books out to children all over. What do you feel like your impact is in your local community?
I think I have a really good, or I've made a great impact in my community. I love getting out in the community. And that's the sad part about what's been going on now, is that I've had to cancel a lot of appearances that I was looking forward to. And that's really one of my joys as an author, is interacting with the kids, because I love kids. I love working with youth. I've done that even when I wasn't a writer. I'm a Sunday school teacher. I've always been the room mom and been around all the kids all the time. So that's a great joy for me, is getting out in the community, meeting readers, finding out what the kids like to read and what is going on in their lives, because that gives me more inspiration for my books and writing too.
Most definitely, especially when you're writing for a purpose. You know, if you see that there's an issue that a certain child is having, you can kind of hone in on that and not necessarily write a book for them, but for that issue. And I think that's the best thing ever, when we can give children solutions through literature. And
right. Mm-hmm.
I think that
my book has Sophie dealing with or facing different problems that she's solving. So every book teaches a gentle lesson while they're entertaining the kids.
What are some of those lessons that are taught in your books?
Well, for example, in Queen of the Bee, she's learning lessons about hard work and perseverance as she prepares for the spelling bee. In the second book, The Snitch, Sophie is standing up to a school bully. So she's learning when to tell an adult or when they need to handle that on their own. They're trying to make a decision whether they should go to the adults, which they don't do through most of the book, and see a lot of negative consequences. The third book, Things You Didn't Know About Sophie, Sophie's trying to fit in and not telling the truth and getting into more and more trouble. And so she's learning that she needs to be herself. And if people don't like her as she is, then they may not be a true friend.
That's really important, especially for the age range that your book is geared towards.
Right. And then my newest book, Sophie Washington, My BFF, which will be releasing this Friday, she and her best friend Chloe, who's been her close friend throughout the series, are having some issues in their relationship. So there's a little bit of drama as they kind of squabble back and forth. And Sophie, her fatal flaw is that she really wants to be everybody's best friend and be liked. And she gets into trouble throughout the series, making some poor choices, trying to fit in with other people. So you see this in this book as she does some things that she shouldn't do, trying to keep that friendship.
Again, another very important lesson that we need our kids to learn right now. You know, it's not about being friends with everyone. It's not about fitting in with everyone, because not everyone is for you.
Right.
So that's amazing in its own right. So if there was one thing that you wanted readers to take away from any of your books, what would it be?
I really want that. I really feel humbled that I've become a part of some of these little readers' childhoods. And that's really what I want to impart, because when I was growing up, we had things like Little House on the Prairie and Judy Blume, books that I love, but I really, you know, those characters, none of them looked like me, and they were totally different from me in a lot of their experiences. So I really want to be a part of their childhood and help them deal with issues that they may face, and so that they can look back and have that kind of wholesome, happy feeling from reading my books that I got from some of the books that I read when I was their age.
Most definitely. I love that. So we're doing these interviews in honor of Women's History Month. What is your mark, your legacy? What are you leaving behind for this generation and the generations to come?
I want to leave behind a legacy, really, or to encourage girls to know that you can do anything. Some of my books, like Sophie Washington Code 1, have the girls participating in a computer coding competition. And I want to leave just a legacy of strength and empowerment for women, letting them know that they can make their dreams happen no matter what their circumstance. And so I try to weave those kind of lessons in through the books as well.
I love that. What do you think your biggest contribution will be? Not to put a limit on, you know, on our impact or what we can leave to the world, but what do you think would be your greatest accomplishment, your greatest contribution?
Just if I could encourage a young girl to write if she wants to write, to create, to see that, you know, if they see me doing things, say, maybe I could do this too. You know, the sky is the limit, because I think for a lot of our girls, they may feel like, well, I can't do this. I don't see anyone like me doing this or that. So that is something that I want to leave behind to my own. I try with my own children to encourage them to use their gifts and talents and to reach for the stars. So that's something that I'd like to leave behind for the youth of today.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Tanya, for taking your time out with us today. I just pray so much success and love and blessings over you and your family. You are making a complete impact. Congratulations on your book release coming out this Friday. Know that you have B-Bomb Book Club on your side, and just send it to me and I'll push it out. I promise.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And same to you. Thank you for your encouragement of authors like myself, you pushing literacy for the youth. You know, I really appreciate all that you're doing for authors and for the readers out there, letting them see books that have people that look like them and just encouraging the kids to read.
Yes, ma'am. Well, again, thank you so much, and be blessed and be bomb.